What's up, everybody? So today I'm going to talk about my neurology rotation and what made it awesome. Let's get to it. So my neurology rotation came immediately following my psychiatry rotation. My university pairs them together, so it's either before or after one another. So the rotation was 5 weeks long. It was a combination of inpatient and outpatient. It was actually scheduled super weirdly. So every day was different. I had a 5-week rotation and every day was scheduled for me hour by hour. This was the only rotation where they really did that for me. The outpatient was every day, if I had that, was set up with morning and afternoon with a provider. So each provider changed every day, and you kind of had to learn who the providers were to prepare for how those providers wanted you to interact with them. So for example, I had some providers who wanted me to see patients, do physical exams, and write notes for every single patient. And they could see 10 patients a day, so I would do that for 10 patients, or 20 patients, or however many they saw. So those days were super long. And I had other physicians or NPs or whoever I was working with where they just wanted me to follow them. They didn't want me to talk to the patients. They didn't want me to get on the charting software, and they didn't want me to touch the patient. So those days were kind of boring, but super easy. So just, how it normally is, that just kind of happens depending on who you're working with. The inpatient days were a lot chiller compared to internal med. I wasn't responsible for any patients at all. I was paired with a resident, and that resident did everything. They honestly didn't even know I was showing up, which I thought was weird because there's 175 of us who go through the rotation. So they didn't expect anything from me. They didn't want me to see patients on my own or do any notes. So it was really chill. I just got to learn. And then with every day, there was, on most days, we had didactics where we would either be with the residents learning what they were learning, or the residency director or the chairman of the residency for neurology for our university would give us a talk. And those were on Zoom, so really low stress there too. For the testing, we had an OSCE. This was everybody knew what it was. They pretty much told you what it was. And it actually wasn't worth any points. So it was very laid back. They showed up, the neurologist would sit in the back corner, have a standardized patient. We would spend 10 minutes with a patient discussing a element that they had, do a physical exam, and then tell them what we thought it was. Patient would leave, and then we would have about 5 minutes to talk with the neurologist to tell us how he think we did. And then we had a written exam. This was the NBME, and then a follow-up paragraph, fill out some questions that the neurology department made specifically for the students. This was the only rotation where I had a supplemental test on top of the NBME. And every student had a different version, so everyone had different questions on basic neurology questions. It wasn't multiple choice, it was physically writing out what would you do, things like that. But the NBME, all I did the study was UWorld and then did my missed questions. I didn't use AMBOSS, I didn't use Online Med, I didn't use anything else. I only did UWorld, and I actually did pretty well on the neurology rotation. This was my very last rotation, so I was also studying for step 2 at the time. So I really didn't focus too much on studying for the NBME. I felt like if I just did the UWorld questions, that would be enough. So I actually spent most of my time in a pre-dedicated state, just doing general questions, and then if it happened to be neurology, take a little extra, minute for those questions. But other than that, to do well on the rotation, I would say be able to do reflexes. The neurologists love to just look at you and be like, all right, give me a biceps reflex. And you're like, I don't know. So maybe practice on somebody and feel comfortable, or at least know what you're hitting. I always like to make the joke neurology is the best rotation because we get to hit our patients, and the patients would always laugh, and that would make the neurologist laugh, and that's just a way to lighten the mood and make them like you a little bit better. So maybe use that on them. But other than that, if you have any questions or comments or want a video on something more specific, drop it down in the comment section below and I'll get to it. But other than that, thanks for watching.